Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.
This is Today Africa, a series where we bring you conversation with individuals shaping the future of the continent. And don't forget to share, follow, and like our content on social media at Today Africa, and head over to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Today Africa Studios. Joining me today is an amazing woman who is committed to empowering, engaging, and educating the youth here in Africa. She's no other person than Njemo Naomi. She's the founder of Youthkonnect. Naomi, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Chukwuemeka. It's really a pleasure to be here with you and to be able to share my experience and to be able to inspire young leaders across Africa. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Could you please tell us about yourself? Who is Njemo Naomi?
Okay, I am a social entrepreneur, like you already know. I'm a mom, have two kids, married, and I've been on this leadership journey for over 6 years now. And aside my social entrepreneurial journey, I am also a manager and administrator at a higher professional institute here in Cameroon. And throughout my leadership journey, throughout my leadership experience, I've had the opportunity to be able to meet with young people, young leaders across Africa from different African countries. And I've been able to have a piece of impact in their lives through what I've been doing with Youthkonnect, which of course came into existence back in 2019. So I think that's just predominantly it. I have a background in journalism and mass communication, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in communication, strategic communications to be precise. And I think that's pretty much who I am.
From what you said, you have been in position that have given you that privilege of interacting with the youth. But I still believe that there's something that inspired you into saying, okay, I want to start this journey of empowering, educating the youth, shaping them into being the leaders they are meant to be. So what inspired you into starting Youth Connect?
Okay, great. That's a very good question. Thank you for asking me that. I think this whole journey began right back in 2019, like I said, but the seed was sown in 2017. If you're very conversant with my country, Cameroon, you would understand that in 2017, we began experiencing one of the most terrifying and the longest socio-political struggle we've ever had in the history of our country. It began in 2017, and due to this particular crisis, it saw the shutdown of over 5,000 schools across national territory. Um, the atmosphere was marked with great insecurity. Youth lost hope. State of emergencies were declared. People had to stay indoors for a month, 2 months, no movement. And people were living, but they felt dead. And at that juncture, as a young girl that I was then, I think I was still in the university, I became very bothered because I had to drop out of school because of the crisis. And I saw the great negative effects this crisis had on youth in particular. because when schools are shut down in every given society, education is the backbone of development. When education is seized away from the people, especially the youths, who constitute the most vital sector or section of a country's population, when education is seized away from them, it gives rise to unwanted pregnancies, armed robberies, vandalism, violence. And I asked myself, how can I come into this picture, you know, and create change, even in the midst of all this mess? And that was when I had a light bulb moment. I like calling it that. And it got dawned on me that I could do something within the confines of my home. I didn't need to go somewhere, or I didn't need to be somewhere different. And I remember very well it was in my room, right? And I went straight to my diary and I began scribbling down the ideas that just, came on me. And I asked myself this question: youths can't go to school. Is there a way, is there a means I can bring education to them, right? If they are not able to go to schools because of the crisis, what can I do to bring education to them? Secondly, what can I do to create a safe space? Because actually, the number one problem was safety. We did not have safety, we did not have security, and that is why schools were shut down. So I asked, what safe space can I create to enable these youths learn from the confines of their homes? And as I began answering the questions, I began getting clarity. And I began seeing the need to come up with something far greater than I am, something that could unite these youths, irrespective of where they were, irrespective of what they were going through. I'm talking about a situation where you had internally displaced youths who would leave everything they have worked for, everything they have known, and they are forced to move to another location just to look for safety. So I was looking for something that could act as a beacon of hope, and that is how Youthkonnect came into being. What is Youthkonnect? It's I call it a safe space for youths to be able to explore, engage, interact, network, learn, and leverage the experiences they've had, probably from their community, from their environment, from the local regions in which they find themselves, to leverage those experiences and see how they can be able to grow as leaders, to nurture those values and pay it back forward, because our value and our intent is paying it forward. And that is how you connect in 2019. We could only establish it in 2019, but we had a first prototype ever virtual meeting in 2018, and it was massive. We had over 100 youths who were present virtually, and what gave me so much joy and fulfillment was seeing these youths. I could see in their eyes, I could see that they found something they could hold on to. I'm talking about youths who had lost their homes in which they grew up in, either through fire, either through just destruction from, the separatist fighters and all that. And they saw this as an opportunity, to rise up from the ashes and be something better. So that's how Youthkonnect came about.
What is Youth Connect? And what are the services you people are rendering?
Okay, great. Youthkonnect is basically an EdTech clarity hub or initiative centered around youth. And we all our activities are centered around three pillars. And this is youth education, youth development, and youth entrepreneurship. And the reason why I made mention of the word safe space is because all our activities are virtual. So, ranging from our three flagship programs, which include the Global Citizenship and Sustainable Leadership Conference, um, the Next Elites, and the Youth Level Up program. So these three programs are tied around the three pillars in which all our activities focus on. And just recently this year, we had to, you know, reevaluate our mission, reevaluate our vision, and see how to become more inclusive with our activities. And this led to the birth of our fourth flagship program, which is Lead Change. It's an all-female lead change conference where we target young female leaders across Africa. Um, and I know the question is, after they do attend these programs, then what next? Since our focus is not just on gathering youths virtually to attend programs, we are more interested in ability and pay it forward to their various communities, impact other youths of their communities, leverage the skills, leverage the knowledge they've attained. So we have put in place a well-placed system, a well feedback and follow-up system where we have a mentorship program of 6 months, intense mentorship, where we have consultants on standby who mentor these young leaders for a period of 3 to 6 months, depending on the program in which they got accepted or enrolled in. After the mentorship, we have partnership with local organizations. And if they wish to leverage that knowledge and experience, then they can apply for a volunteering position, and we send them to these local NGOs to be able to volunteer for other young leaders who want to pursue the undeserved areas of the community, because actually that's our focus on the underprivileged, on inaccessible areas of the community where there are youths there who do not really have, you know, what it takes to have equitable access to education. So there are youths who really want to get into education, and we help them resource wise, knowledge wise. We give the necessary connections that are available. We even sometimes go out of our own way to be able to see how to follow up with the government or policy requirements to ensure that they are in line with what the government is required for that particular jurisdiction. And we see how to encourage them, pay it forward to that particular community. So that's practically what we do at Youth Connect. And then the second phase of what we also do at Youth Connect is we encourage education. When I talk about encouraging education, what do I mean? I mean we assist young leaders who want to foster education in applying for scholarships. We have webinar sessions where we teach them pro tips on how to be able to ace a good, successful, and acceptable application for the different global opportunities, because there are over 8 global opportunities. So we for each webinar session we may treat one. So throughout the year we have gone through the different 8 uh, uh, global scholarships. And all throughout the years, we've had so many success stories of young leaders who have been accepted into fellowship programs, who've had scholarship programs, who've had the opportunities to go on fully funded conferences, get the knowledge, get the networks, get the experience, and they are back here in Cameroon doing massive exploits. And the last phase of Youth Connect is centered around teaching young people on the social development goals, which are the SDGs of the United Nations. We want to be engaged and integrated, in fostering this particular vision of the United Nations in our own way, at our own level. So we teach these young leaders, because it will surprise you to know that there are still young people in Africa, in Cameroon, in my country, who have no idea about the SDGs of the United Nations and the goals and how to go about them. So we are out to see how to be able to teach them and nurture them in that particular light.
I want to know, all these programs rendered for free, or there are some one that are paid?
Actually, all our programs are free. All our programs are free. There's none of our programs that youths do charge. That's because a little backdrop, like I missed this particular part of who I was. I grew up in a family where I was the very first to graduate from the university. So you can understand education was seen as a luxury. To a lot of people who feel that education is a basic right, trust me, when you grow up in a family that struggles, you would know it's not a right, it's a luxury, right? So I was so passionate about wanting to study. I loved going to school, but I never had the privilege like a lot of kids do have. So I had to work my way up there, right? I had to do jobs, and I had a father who really, really understood me back then. He would go the extra mile to see that I succeed. And luckily for me, when I got to the university, I never paid fees because I was on a fully funded scholarship. So each year, my GPA was so good that the government would refund my school fees. So you actually pay the school fees at the beginning of the year, and if you exceed a particular cutoff GPA point, the government awards you your school fees as a scholarship token. So I could get my school fees at the end of every academic year, and I used it to repay, you know, my school fees for the next academic year. And that was how I did complete my studies. So that placed a very soft spot in my heart for youths who are struggling. And I said to myself, this is what I can do. I don't need the world to pay me, but I think I find great satisfaction in what I'm doing. And subsequently, over the years, we've had local organizations who are partnering with us and seeing that we do what we do effortlessly. So so far so good. We're not taxing anything. So it's all free.
All right. Good. That is great. But yes, I know you talked about partnership. You have some local partnership. But beside these local partnerships, are there other kind of funding that comes to you people that helps in the smooth running of Youthkonnect?
Okay, so far so good. We've had a couple of funding opportunities. Rather unfortunately, it's not even from Cameroon. I recently applied on behalf of Youth Connect for the TEF entrepreneurial program. I'm sure you're very versed with that. Uh, because I think you're from Nigeria. I think so. So I was privileged to be shortlisted for the award. So I'm currently undergoing the training, and I think the award comes down to $5,000 US, which is approximately 2.8 million francs CFA to 3 million, if the values are really high, if the exchange values are high. I think that these are the things that give us hope, right? That really help us at the level of my country, like at the level of my local government. The policies here do not actually really favor startups or young social entrepreneurs who are struggling to make change. I've had my own couple of challenges. It's not all that good. It's not all that good. There are actually years that I felt like I couldn't continue with it because the weight was actually too much. And I was looking for a means to just, lay low and lay off, because I think we were supposed to have a program in another region. So normally we have to follow protocols. So I was to send out a letter demanding or pleading for an authorization to access schools, because we wanted to train or come up like a short training for secondary and primary schools in that particular area to teach them against violence in schools, because stabbing in schools became a very rampant issue here in our community. So I wanted to do something about it. So, but unluckily for me, when I sent one of my team members to the delegation to have the authority to check and be able to do that sensitization process, it all came back unproductive and unfruitful. And it would really surprise you to know that our government does not really make it easier for us to be able to do the job and to do what is required. So we had to delay and postpone that particular program. We could not have access to schools to train young boys and young girls on no violence on school grounds. And that's how youths kept dying in schools out of, you know, being getting stabbed, violence, and all that. So I think that one of the lessons that I've really taken home with me throughout this journey is the path is not easy, but if the passion is greater than the difficulties faced, then definitely we're going to reach the finish line. So
Since you started Youth Connect, what have been the challenges that have come your way and how have you been able to overcome them?
like I made mention earlier, the first challenge that we've had so far is government policies and gatekeeping. Like um young people, I am not speaking just for myself. I want to use this opportunity to speak out for young social entrepreneurs who really want to do the work but cannot. So our government really has to collaborate with young people to ensure that what they do it and do it very well, especially if their work is so selfless. It's not for their own gain, it's for the good of the community. Such um, ventures, such initiatives really have to be encouraged. And if you ask or sample, I'm telling you the truth, over 20 young leaders like myself and ask them this same question, this particular answer I'm giving to you is going to be their very first, because it's a challenge that is very much relatable. I'm speaking for young leaders in Cameroon. I don't know about other African countries, but it's very common over here. The second challenge that I've really faced is the aspect of finances. When I started this initiative, it wasn't as, as a little easier as it is right now. Starting up an initiative as this in the midst of crisis, you don't even have an idea. Like, I've never done this before. So I didn't know even how to begin. And there were a lot of challenges, a lot of things I really wanted to do, but I couldn't do because I did not have the money. So, but um, I kind of came out of that hole because I had to reach out to mentors and people who really helped me, had clarity, and find my way through that particular mess at that time, that I could see how to begin. And then I also had the idea of doing it virtual. And it will cost you to know that most of my ideas, most of our programs actually that we do, we have people of goodwill, like I said, wanting to help us. And that is what has really given us the leverage to be able to do all we've done all throughout the years.
Since you started Youth Connect, what are the changes that you have seen in the lives of the youth that have been to your programs?
Oh, a lot of changes, a lot of changes, and that's what's keeping me going. Like, let me use like a glaring example. Here in Cameroon, I have one youth, many of them, but this one really stands out really. So he started. He was part of our very first cohort back in 2019, and right now I'm telling you, he's doing a lot. He's a young professional nurse, and what he has done is he's created like a consortium, like an initiative for nurses in the southwest region of Cameroon. And he's heading that initiative like crazy. And currently, as I'm talking to you right now, they have what the Nightingale Week to be able to commemorate and celebrate young health practitioners, frontliners in the suburb regions of the southwest regions of Cameroon. So they are practically in a town called Kumba. It's like it's a a peri-urban town in Kumba, and they want to see how to be able to encourage, foster quality care, and encourage nurses who have decided to dedicate their lives to the service of the community. And it's something wonderful. And sometimes when I see the things he does, I'm like, wow, this is mind blowing. And sometimes he walks up to me, calls me in the morning, Mom, I really want to thank you for what you did to me back in 2019. It gave me the push I needed. It's placed me where I am. I can go on and on. I have another, one of our fellows. He's currently the founder of Youth on Purpose, doing massive work, and they're also centered around harnessing skills, contemporary and relevant skills in young leaders in Cameroon, to see how to make them ready for on the job market, you know, and it's wonderful. I can go on and on. Last 2 years, 2 years ago, we break through our national boundary. Now we have fellows in Kenya, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Nigeria, um, um, Tanzania, Uganda. Currently, as I'm talking to you, my core team, I think I have just three Cameroonians. The rest are of different nationalities in Africa. And our main idea is to be able to see how to empower. If I believe in the ripple effect, right? If I empower one, one will empower 10, 10 will empower 20, 20 will empower 30. And that's how leadership is supposed to be. So I think it's wonderful. This is what really gives me joy, and I'm happy to see it grow. Right, I'm happy to see it grow.
Wow, that is great. So, how do you manage your team that are outside Cameroon? Like you said, some of your team are in Nigeria and other African countries. So, how do you manage these people that are not in your country of residence?
Okay, great. So we live in a technologically advanced society, right? So technology has
Yeah.
come to make the world a global village. So I do not necessarily to be where they are. They do not necessarily have to be where I am. But I think that the common platform of dedication is the passion for what we do. Trust me, Chukwemeka, because sometimes it's difficult to follow up someone who is close to you, right? What more of someone you don't see, someone who is, geographically, you know, uh, just very much far away from you. I think we are bounded by the common bond of passion for what we do. And, that's what gives us the drive and restlessness. Back in 2018, I was invited in Nigeria to teach and train some youth on self discipline. And I told them that someone who is passionate is crazy. You cannot be passionate and you're normal. And I believe that that's what has kept me and my team going all throughout the years. We are passionately crazy about what we do, that we just want to do it and we just want to see it done. So, what we do is we have monthly meetings. We decide to choose any uh, social media conference call app. But predominantly we like using, I think, Zoom. Yeah. So we have meetings every month, once, but the month that we have a program, we have meetings twice, pre and post. So pre preparatory meetings and post evaluation, because we always evaluate what we do. We see the faults, we see the cracks, we see the advantages, we see the good things we did, and we see how to re-strategize and ameliorate our next meeting to be even better. So, but it's a very wonderful question you're asking me, because I just had a meeting with my team last week and I announced that I'm stepping out of the position of the president, because actually I was acting both as the president and the founder. So I'm stepping back, and we are currently on the way on seeing how to elect and vote a new president. So I'm just going to be in the background, and I'm going to let these young people do the work, right? They're passionate about it, and I believe that's the legacy, right? You pass it on, you pass it forward, you see others, do it and do it even better than you did. So yeah, so it's pretty much interesting, and we are looking forward to our very first ever meet and greet program at the end of this year. So hopefully we are trying to see how to mobilize all the resources we need. We want these young people to come together. Obviously, for our very first session, a converging point will be in Cameroon, and subsequently we may be having the meet and greet sessions in other countries as God will graciously permit. So for this year's edition, we are trying to see how to have it here in Cameroon, and all the alumni of Youthkonnect, all those who've gone through our trainings, we're going to converge, have a moment to learn, to network, to interact, and build that liaison that is really needed to empower, inspire them, give them hope for what they do, so that they can be able to do a better job.
I believe for you to be able to do that, you have put systems and processes in place that will help whosoever that will become the president continue from where you stopped. So, how do you put those systems and processes in place that is enabling you to be able to say, okay, now let another person take over as president. Let me just step back.
Actually, we have what we call a standard operation guide. I had to do that to be able to enable young people come up with to ease the workflow within the organization. So this standard operation guide is going to enable whosoever is going to be the president to know how things are done and when it's done. And of course, really, Chukwemeka, the whole point of this, I don't want to raise like a programmable machine, right? I want to raise someone who has the free will to be innovative, creative, and also do something that feel that it's going to be for the good and for the betterment of the initiative as a whole, and for the youth who benefit from what we do. So aside having the standard operation guide that's really, or standard operation procedure SOP, that is really going to help the presidents come up with all the the activities and all whatnot that is needed. They have their own intuition and creativity to tap from. And then secondly, we have standby consultants, we have educational consultants, legal consultants that are always present to give them the mentoring, the guidance, the advice that is needed. And I am also much available to step in whenever they need my help. And also we have a constitution, right? We have a constitution that binds us as an organization or as an initiative. So there is nothing that they're going to be doing out of what we already have been doing, and which is also present in our constitution as an initiative.
You are a mom, you are a wife, you're a business, you're a founder, no more a president, you're a founder, and you have other things that you are doing. So, how are you able to manage being a mom, a wife, a founder, and other aspects of your life without breaking down?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, last year I had to take a break, right? I had to take a break. And that was the moment I realized that, oh, it's time for me to lay off some baggage, right? It's too much. I can't be everywhere doing everything at the same time. I'm going to burn out. And it's a beautiful thing to be a mom. Truly, it's one of the most wonderful experiences I've had. I have two beautiful kids, boys. But it's still also not easy to be able to manage and balance my work life, my personal life, being a mom, being a wife, being a founder, working, it's too much. Like, and that was when I decided to do a pre-test. Like, I handed over I not like completely handed over, but I delegated authority, I delegated task to my team members, and boy oh boy, they did it, and they did it big time. And it got done on me that, oh, they are ready. I've been working with them for years, and they've been working with me for years, and I realized that working with them, I kind of trained them, right? And they're able to communicate, execute, plan, do everything as expected. True, it's not 100% perfect, but they're doing it. And even in their failures, they're learning, right? They're taking up initiatives to do even the tiny bits of things that sometimes I overlook, even as the founder of the initiative. Their eyes are very keen to see, to pinpoint, and execute. So that really got done on me that, oh, it was time for me to lay off some baggages. It was really too much for me to carry. So one other aspect that has really helped me maintain that balance is I've had coaching sessions. Trust me, I couldn't carry. So I had to have coaching sessions on how to be able to maintain a balance. And that is when I began learning. Even as a leader, I learn, right? You learn, and you learn till the day you die. I began learning to delegate more, right? Shift the burden off your shoulders, share the responsibilities. And that is how I was able to get to the point where I am fully present everywhere without getting burnt.
Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.